Hello there. You know what time it is? That's right, it's Thursdoid time. The one where we all like to watch instead of read. I'm sure you have all been more or less following the previous dev blogs, but this one has something that I feel is rather important that we all need to know. Some sad news, but the rest is all about the glow-ups, baby. As always, the link to the dev blog will be in the description if you'd like to read it in further detail. Before we dive in, whether you've binged my videos or found a few that you enjoy, I encourage you to drop a like and subscribe. There are some really exciting things coming soon that I wouldn't want you to miss, my dear survivor. Anyways, let's get into the dev blog. To start off the blog, the team dives into where we are with the build and what exactly has been holding them back from pushing it into unstable beta. The team's goal with Build 42 is to flesh out the crafting potential of PZ and to expand the endgame, which we all know has been lacking a little bit. Without these new changes coming to Build 42, it's very easy to experience boredom or even burnout when in a lengthy playthrough, as there isn't much to do other than set your own little goals to achieve. The crafting overhaul coming to Build 42 will help provide players a way to build a community and shift a lot of the focus away from items that require looting to items that can be crafted. This is a good thing for those of us who host servers or host local games with our friends, as we can focus on these crafted items instead of having to respawn loot indefinitely. And let's be honest, it will add so much more variety and fun to the game. But with all of these ambitious improvements to the game, naturally it will slow down the long-awaited release of Build 42, at least the unstable beta release. So far, the team has worked on some amazing updates for us, from the animal husbandry system, the procedurally generated landscape, the underground system, and many more. But trying to rush all of these into unstable beta naturally may lead to more unpolished work, which we as the players don't want. So the team has decided that instead of pushing to perfect the crafting overhaul for the unstable beta release, they will rather focus on polishing up what they already have and work through bug fixing and such to push the build into unstable beta. Thereafter, they will fill in the gaps during the beta testing phase, or even shift some of the content to smaller releases as they work on Build 43. Due to this focus shift, they haven't exactly figured out what will go into the first release of the build. Fear not though, there will still be a lot for us to dive into, like the blacksmithing system, pottery, woodworking, the new crafting system, and much more. Things like some of the new crafting tech trees that the team had hoped could be included in the initial release of Build 42 will be pushed back so that they can avoid any further delays for us. Honestly, I'm okay with that. Build 42 has been packed with so much content, and yes, while it has been in development for a very long while now, I have faith in the team that they will deliver a quality product. Doing this may result in a small portion of content not initially being available to us, but that's okay. There will still be so much for us to do in the initial release of Build 42, and even more with the smaller updates coming up. At least, hopefully, we will still get Build 42 closer to the time frame that the team stated. The decision for all of this was actually made this week, due to the realization of the delays it would cause if they tried to fit everything in. In its current state, the build is very unstable, unbalanced, and buggy, so it will take a bit of time for them to polish everything up nicely for us. Obviously, this isn't something that we would want released. So, personally, as excited as I am for Build 42, I'd rather wait until things are polished enough to have a pleasant experience upon release. So, this brings us to some sadder news than I may have hoped for. Due to these challenges, the release for Build 42 Unstable Beta is maybe not as close as we hoped for. A silver lining to this is that with all the readjustments to the things that have priority for the release, they have hopefully shortened the time frame for delivery. Okay, so now with some of the sad news out the way, let's move on to some exciting stuff to pump up our spirits. Among all of the changes coming to Build 42, I think we can all agree that some areas on the map needed a bit of a rework in terms of visual design. In a previous blog, they made mention of redoing some areas in Louisville, more specifically the rooftops, to prepare for the upcoming skyscrapers, I presume. Of course, not just Louisville is getting a rework, but the whole map is getting touched up, with new towns being added, general touch-ups, and of course, the new skyscrapers. But one town, Muldraugh, the one that started it all, definitely needs some loving. So in this post, the team released some images of a few buildings that are getting reworked in Mold. Ayrton has been quite busy it seems, and I must say, I'm rather impressed. Buildings like the church and the school always looked rather bare, and with these touch-ups it fleshes them out to look like actual buildings instead of just blocks. Another one that I'm really excited for is the police station update, which I'm hoping also rolls out to the other police stations around the map. The simple addition of objects on the roof really rounds out the building and of course, makes it actually look like a really nice location to set up a base. These are but a few examples, but I'm hoping the rework of the towns really helps breathe some new life into them. Heading on to arguably one of my favorite updates coming in the upcoming Build 42 release, the lighting changes. The changes from a tile-based lighting system to a more environmental lighting system really helps inject some gloomy immersion into the world. They released a side-by-side image of the progressive differences between the two systems. Enclosed rooms without lighting sources will appear much darker, with the general light propagation being a lot more realistic. Remember, we don't ever use the big light in the room. Ambience is key. Something else they have been working on, which is such a small thing that I've even overlooked in game, are the street lamps outside. The changes from the current lighting system are massive. The new lighting changes will also apply to individual lights within rooms, on things like lamps, lit signs, electrical appliances, and much more. In a nutshell, what they are doing is adding a sprite as an overlay on top of various light sources to give them an on status. They have also tinkered with Build 42's lighting parameters to produce a more consistent color temperature range across different light sources, like neon or colored light sources for example. What this essentially means is more ambience. Here's an image of what it would look like in practice. Looking real snazzy, if I may say. On to an update on the new 3D media release. The team has been working closely with fellow content creators, Welias and Unconid, to help provide 3D rendered assets for the team to expand the lore of PZ even further and dive us headfirst into the immersion around the Nox event. At the moment, their focus is on newspapers, which are set to expand to flyers once they've fleshed out all the newspaper editions. As I've said in a previous devblog video, I am quite a sucker for good lore, so little additions like this will help us flesh out the timeline of the Nox event and help bring some life into the world around us. Well, the PZ world, of course. And of course, they are working on places where you most likely would find these. Newspaper stands. To further expand on the lore of PZ, they are working on making sure their characters in various broadcasts, flyers, newspapers and more, who have a place of work that is featured in these media sources, will have their zombified spawns at the relevant locations on the map. This lore expansion is a little side project for the team, but even so goes a long way for general immersion and helps us better know the past lives of the local neighbors. In addition to this, they are improving the way in which the world generates loot and various set encounters to better connect with the overall timeline. For example, Bandit Zeds and Survivalist Zeds, along with their safe houses, when first encountered, will have a better indication of the current world state and the number of days passed since the collapse of society. In the multiplayer realm, we have some more info on some exciting features that will benefit the PZ multiplayer experience. Along with some of the new updates, they will allow for servers to have a customizable login/server connection screen. Server owners can customize this with an image of their choosing and even have a smaller server icon that is also customizable. There will also be improved anti-cheat settings. At the moment, the current anti-cheat functionality proves to be a tad problematic, with many of them having to be disabled to fit in the mods that we love so much. Now, they have been improved drastically. You can now turn off each one individually in the server options and configure actions when cheats are detected, be it banning, kicking, logging, or ignoring the offending player. There will be a new interface for viewing different role capabilities, like admin, moderator, and user for example. This new interface will also allow server owners to add custom roles and customize the user capabilities from these new roles. Lastly, and possibly one of my favorites, is the new War Manager feature. The idea behind this is to help server admins govern conflicts between rival player groups. The customization options are quite in-depth for this feature, even down to the timers and the countdowns to the scheduled war. During a waged and accepted war, safe house protection is turned off for all players involved in the conflict. This disabling of safe house protection comes after a war has been declared and accepted. Refused declarations of war will steadily take away admin-defined points until ultimately you will be unprotected if you stave off declarations of war for too long. This one is a nice feature being added which will help create some interesting RP scenarios in servers with multiple factions, all with different ideologies. Speaking of servers, we will soon have a server of our own. When it is built, I will make a separate video on that, so stay tuned, survivors. To round off the dev blog, we hike back to the awesome work that the art department has been cooking up regarding giving a bit more personality to the neighbors you dispatch, and to the homes that they lived in. This month, they have been focusing on novelty keyrings alongside interesting bags and containers. All simple things, but big enough to add character to the houses that we loot as we go on our loot goblin rampage. Well, survivors, that's it for this month's Thursdoid. Yes, I know it's sad news that the unstable beta may be pushed back a bit further than we anticipated, but what is a little more waiting in exchange for a game-changing build to a game that we all love? Thank you for watching, and I encourage you to drop a like and subscribe if you liked the video. Good luck out there, survivor, and I will see you in the next one.